Portugal, the deepest squad in the tournament, drew with DR Congo. England, shaky defence, 2 goals down at half-time, but won 4-2. In the other games, one team did everything right and lost the game. Another team just had eased off and had to switch it back on and won. Day 7 was chaotic, but that's why we love it. Welcome back to FUT IN Review, ladies and gentlemen. World Cup Daily, episode 17. Day 7 is done. I'm joined by my very good friend, James Tolando. How are you doing, James?
I'm very well, thanks. Good afternoon to the listeners. Good evening to the listeners and watchers. Finally, we get to do a pod, Jack, so I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. I think James and I have been trying to tee up a time for us to record a World Cup Daily podcast for the past week or so. We're excited that we're getting into it. And I think we can talk with some really good football on display. So we'll just break it down. So 4 games yesterday. England won a chaotic game. Portugal dropped points. Ghana stole it in the 95th minute. And Colombia survived a Debbie Nation scare. Day 7 had a lot. Just a quick reminder, listeners, if you want to support us without a subscription, just buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/FUTInReview. Link will be in the show notes. Right, James, let's get going. First up, we had Portugal versus DR Congo. And I think after yesterday's round of football, we had Haaland scoring a couple of goals. We had Mbappé scoring a couple of goals. And it was also, and obviously Messi scoring a hat-trick. So it was almost like the pressure was on for Cristiano. And I think as soon as the games finished yesterday, you could just everyone could feel the collective pressure on Cristiano to do something today. And it's one of those things where it's too much. It's too much for one person to take on. But did he live up to it? What are your thoughts on the game? It ended in 1-1. What are your thoughts?
Well, straight away, frustration. I was the person that backed Portugal from the start. So I know it's still early days, but it's against DR Congo. I was expecting 2-3-0. So it was frustration on my part, but also the Portuguese as well. I felt they were going too wide and then they were crossing too quickly. They were always determined to pass to Ronaldo instead of like maybe 1 or 2 times using him as a decoy and maybe passing to a person behind them, maybe like Bruno Fernandes. So they kept trying to deliver to Ronaldo. So I feel that was a lot of pressure on them straight away by their own doing. They could have just maybe been a wee bit more patient and actually done what DR Congo done. I felt when they attacked with precision but also with patience. So I thought they were very, very good and they got their rewards. I think it was just before half-time that the Newcastle man Wissa scored. So half-time, you're thinking, right, okay, can Portugal do a second gear? And it just wasn't to be. And also as well, Martinez, I know that Nathan spoke previously on the pod about Martinez and his tactics. I felt he got it wrong in the second half. Apart from, he did make a good substitution with the boy from Juventus instead of Bernardo Silva. That was good. But in my opinion, you've got the best midfield in the tournament. That's in my opinion. So why not, maybe play a diamond formation? Because Bernardo Silva is fantastic. You're taking him off at half-time. It didn't work out for him on the right wing, so I understand what happened. But maybe try a 4-1-2-1-2, maybe get someone to support Ronaldo. So overall, it was frustration, but hopefully they can do the business. And out of all the 5 major goal scorers in the world right now, Ronaldo did not live up to the hype.
Definitely not. I think talking about Ronaldo, he played 90 minutes, 16 touches in the first half, 0 shots on target all game. 6th time he's finished a World Cup game without a shot on target. That's a bit of a damning stat.
Yeah.
The other thing I just want to point out with Martinez, he pointed after in his post-match comments, he had a really interesting take. His take was Argentina lost to Saudi Arabia in 2022 and Spain lost to Switzerland in 2010. And won the World Cup. So this is the first game, is what he had to say. So it's the problem with this situation, exactly as you pointed out, they have got arguably the best midfield. And it almost felt like at times Ronaldo was taking up all the good spaces. And there was one event, especially Constance came in, brilliant pass, and then a pass came through. And all Ronaldo had to do was just leave the ball for Bruno, who was right behind him. And he just scuffed the shot. And I think Henry, in one of his, this is one of the snippets that's going around the social media rounds right now, is the fact that Henry said Ronaldo is there to score. I mean, this is just based on today's game. Ronaldo was there to score a goal for Ronaldo, whereas he should be expecting Portugal to score a goal, not just him. And it felt at certain times he was taking up the spaces incorrectly. I think you're quite right in the fact that I don't think this is a Ronaldo problem. I think it's more of a Martinez problem where he hasn't really got the best out of the squad to make the best out of to get the best results. And that needs to be looked at and argued about rather than focusing on what Ronaldo hasn't done. I think with this squad, it should be a pretty no-brainer, especially against DR Congo, to go ahead and just be able to at least pull through a win, not necessarily a sexy win or a great win, just a win should have been possible. So that's a bit disappointing overall. Do you think they bounce back from here?
I think so. With the group that they're in, Shaq, I think so. I think hopefully quality will prevail in the end. And it's a good point that Martinez made. Fair enough. It's factual. So yeah, we'll see. Time will tell.
The other thing that I was really thinking of, especially when I take it back to the time when Nathan actually on the podcast, when we did pre-recording and we spoke about Portugal, because like you, John and I, the gaffer himself and me and you, we all said we all had high hopes in Portugal, and Nathan really clearly said, this is why he's a scout. He clearly said Portugal will have an issue with Ronaldo. So do you think there might be any chance that Ronaldo might be benched for the next game, or maybe as a really effective person to finish the game?
Well, it's looking like Nathan was correct. So fair play to the gentleman, definitely. I don't think Roberto Martinez has got the, how to say this in a polite way, I don't feel he's got. Yes, I do not feel that he's got that to bench one of the major stars in the world, not just football, So I don't see that happening. But I hope he could maybe support him a wee bit more and do a diamond. But again, Martinez is set on a formation. You've seen it back with Belgium. He didn't really change tactical with Belgium. So, and he didn't really get the best out of Kevin De Bruyne. Some people could argue he could, but in my opinion, I don't really know. So to answer the question, no, I don't see him dropping Ronaldo on for him. I don't see it.
Yeah, it's a bit disappointing. I think if there was another player who could actually, another striker, another finisher that could do the things that you want. I think one of the biggest things that they were missing is someone to stretch the game, someone who could run in behind all these amazing midfielders. One person running in behind would free up that space. Everyone literally was clogging up each other's space, and it just didn't seem right. And that's down to Martinez. That's really down to Martinez. But also, as we discussed, there's no one else to take his Guedes. Gonzalo Ramos is probably the only other one that I can think of that can possibly start, but would you be starting him over Ronaldo? I don't think Ronaldo's going to be happy. So yeah, fingers crossed. I really hope that Portugal come back because they do have a lot in the tank. They did get a bit unlucky. They had an offside goal that was disallowed in the end as well. Okay, with Cancelo, that was a pretty good goal. But hopefully they just bounce back because it would be a shame to see them going out, especially because this could be Ronaldo's last World Cup as well. So would be a shame.
Yeah, certainly would be a shame, definitely. Also, Ramos or Felix, I would like to say Felix to be actually teamed up with Ronaldo. He had a great season in the Saudi Pro League, so hopefully.
That's a great shot. That's a great shot. So fingers crossed they do something different because we can't have another game like this because this is just not it. And I think your parallels with Belgium are quite right because that was another wonder team that Roberto Martinez was in charge of and they didn't really do much at all. So let's see what happens from here. Right. Moving on swiftly. The other game that happened straight after this was England-Croatia. And watching this game live, one of the things I felt straight away after watching the first half was same old England. Same old England. But the second half is completely different. I don't know what your affiliation is with England. I don't know whether you're an England normalist or you have nothing for or against England. What are your thoughts on the English football team, especially in this game?
I've got no opinion of England, but good or bad. I've got no hate towards them whatsoever. But I felt they done pretty well because they came to this World Cup, Shaq, under a fantastic record. They qualified. They won. Of course, they qualified. Sorry, but they won all their games. I don't think they conceded a goal in qualifying, and then they leaked a few goals in friendlies before it. But overall, they really had excellent form. And he went with the same back four, I believe he went for in one of the qualifiers back in September, October, and also the same back four he went against Costa Rica, I believe, in a friendly. So it was expected in my front that when they do come up against a good side, England is going to concede. So that was the case against Croatia. I always expected Kane to get them out of trouble. Without a shadow of a doubt, he's a fantastic striker. He's elite. He's amongst the top 5 goal scorers that I mentioned. We had Messi yesterday, Mbappé. We had also, just for the life of me, it escapes me, Mbappé yesterday, Messi, and who else did we have? that was
Haaland.
scoring. Haaland, exactly, against the 2 goals for Norway. So I expected Kane to do the business, and he did. Second half, though, I felt, we're talking about Martinez. I think England's got a fantastic coach, and Thomas Tuchel, absolutely brilliant. And his substitutions were good as well at the right times. I thought England really showed their quality against Croatia, and it was a great marker for them. Great marker in the tournament, and you could arguably say that they've already beat the strongest team in their group. Now they're against Ghana and Panama. So I do feel it'll be a walk in the park until the knockout stages. Even quarter-finals, really, I see them before they get their biggest test.
Yeah, I shouldn't have any affiliation with England, but because historically they've always had a lot of Man United players, and I've always supported them for that reason. But we only have like Rashford and Kobe Mainoo right now. But I still have some sort of a soft spot for those lads and also for the team. One of the biggest differences this time around was the fact that Thomas Tuchel at halftime apparently said so, which Kane confirmed, that he said his speech at halftime was really pumped them up in the fact that he said, doesn't matter if we lose playing the way we've planned. And I think it literally broke all the shackles, because I think the English team was playing their typical tentative football where they necessarily didn't know whether they had to attack or press for the ball or hold off. Or it was very like both the goals that came through. They had, I think, for one of the goals, they had 6 or 7 people in defense, and a goal still went through. So they just weren't getting everything right. And I think that just a whole momentum shift, the way they came out in the second half and the way they applied the pressure. And they were getting to the second ball straight away. They were trying to push everyone out of the way, get there, go attacking, do whatever they had to do. So look, I think if they stay this way, they can be a scary, scary proposition. However, their defense seems a bit shaky, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. I was, even though, I just mentioned that he started with the same back four against, the matches that I gave examples of, but I was very surprised that Mark Guéhi didn't get in. I really do rate him highly. He had a fantastic season last season with Crystal Palace, won the FA Cup, brilliant, got his caps for England. Again, he went to Man City in January. He won the FA Cup again. So really outstanding, and he had a great, great season to the end of it. So I was surprised that he didn't actually start. Were you?
Yeah, I think so. I think there has been some discussion for John Stones being dropped in the next game for Guéhi, so that makes complete sense. And I think Nico Riley played a decent game. I think at the end, Jed Spence had a pretty good game as well. So I think they've got a lot of options. And I think the people on the bench came on and actually, for example, when you had the start, you had the guy, the Gordon lad from Barcelona. It's weird to say Gordon's in Barcelona, but yeah, he had an ineffective performance. But then you had Rashford who came off the bench and looked brilliant. He actually could have scored another goal where I think he just ran out of steam, but they do have a lot of options on the bench that could just come on and literally replace what they have in the first team. So look, I think if they keep it up this way and if they can shore up the defense a little bit, I think they have a really top class manager who can actually make the difference at this level. So happy for them. Let's see what they actually produce from here on in. And as you said, they finished at hardest test. The next 2 games should be easy enough, but then we'll see what happens after that. That'll be the interesting thing that we'll have to gather. Right, moving right along, we had another game, which is a really interesting but weird game between Ghana and Panama. I don't know if you saw much of the game, James, but from my take, it looked like a one-way street for Panama the whole game. And then just right at the death, 95th minute, Ghana scored and went ahead and won the game. They didn't really do much all game. Your thoughts on this game?
Well, that was quite late for me, so unfortunately I missed that game and the other game. I had to be up for the podcast, Shaq.
Yeah.
If you know, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, Panama though, I think they played in the Gold Cup, correct? I'm sure that's the competition that they play with.
Yeah, correct.
And
correct.
they actually give USA a good game, and I believe they've won a few times against the USA. So they've actually done quite good in the Gold Cup. The friendlies that they played wasn't that great, I suppose. Maybe they won or maybe they lost their form. But I rate Panama, to be brutally honest with you. Ghana isn't the Ghana that we've seen from years and years ago. Remember Ghana and Uruguay in that World Cup when Suarez get the handball. The striker was Guéhi, I believe his name was.
Correct.
Fantastic striker, yeah. So they don't really have players of yesteryears. So I'm not surprised to hear that Panama it was a one-way street with them, and then unfortunately in the end, Ghana score. But like you said in the introduction, that's football. That's why we love it. It can be a very, very cruel game, extremely cruel, but also on the other side of the coin, it can be absolutely fantastic. So it just depends on the day who actually gets the luck, which side does.
That's right. I think I just want to point out as well, Ghana were missing Kudus and Salisu, who they were not on the pitch. And Semenyo had a weird game where I think he was trying too hard for long periods of the game, and the rest of the team just weren't catching up. And he was all over the place, sometimes on the wing, sometimes in the middle. It just wasn't, I don't think it was his best games. And I think there's a lot more to come from Ghana. And I think England versus Ghana, watch this space. I just have a feeling there'll be some spicy events in that game. Let's keep that aside for another time. Right. Moving along swiftly, listeners, we have the final game of today, which was Colombia versus Uzbekistan. The first half of this game, James, I saw this first half and I was like wondering, has Uzbekistan showed up? It just felt like that for the first few minutes. And then Colombia was just cruising. I completely forget that Colombia has some really quality talent on the pitch. They had Luis Díaz, who was purring. It was just amazing today. And then the rest of the team actually played really well. And they had times where they had their right back who actually scored the first goal. And literally they were just finding spots, they were finding space. And it looked like this was going to be a heavy defeat for Uzbekistan. But then cue up the second half. Well, even towards the end of the first half, Uzbekistan came back, equalized, and they had a great game after that when Colombia literally had to shake off and come back and try and do something. I don't know if you watched much of the game, but it was a tight game for a little while till Colombia's quality just came out.
I'm not surprised that you mentioned the right back scoring. He actually plays for Crystal Palace, doesn't he? And he's got a goal in him, definitely. So he is a very, very good player. Also as well, I can't remember exactly where Colombia finished, but I do know they finished ahead of Brazil. Brazil was fifth. I believe Ecuador was second. Of course, Argentina was top. So they have a really, really good side, definitely. A very strong and balanced side. And Luis Díaz, fantastic left winger, absolutely brilliant. I'm delighted he scored. So that's good for me, from outrights. But that's good that he scored. But yeah, Colombia's a very, very solid team. I do see them going far, in the knockouts. Definitely. They will get out the group. There's no question about that. So I'm not surprised that Colombia won 3-1 last night.
Yeah, I think they have a lot in the tank. They have a lot of quality on the pitch. It's just a matter of applying themselves because as soon as they got into the lead, it almost felt like they just realized they were too good for Uzbekistan. And that really, I think Uzbekistan scoring a pretty good goal really shocked them. And they didn't really know how to come back from a slumber. But they did. They finally somehow came back and they got the win. On top of the group, they could even qualify as winners. And yeah, do you think Colombia could qualify as winners over Portugal in this group?
Well, my heart says Portugal, without a doubt, Shaq, but I wouldn't put it past them. And Colombia will certainly give them a game. There's no doubt about that. So it'll be interesting to say the least.
That'll be a spicy game. Spicy game. Right, listener, we'll move on to our next section, which is the baller, the bottler, and the drama. So I'll start with the baller. And I've got a very interesting take on the baller. It was Jude Bellingham. There was a lot of controversy about Jude Bellingham this time around in the sense that will he play? Will he not start? Would he start? Should he start? And there was a lot of conjecture whether he would even start this game. But Kane scored twice and got the headlines. But the real story is England's win was Jude Bellingham. England were 2-2 at halftime. Tuchel was furious. The defense had fallen apart. Croatia had scored a screamer and a clever combination through Perisic and Musa. Both brilliant goals. England needed something. 85 seconds into the second half, Kobe Manu plays it to Bellingham. He takes one touch, drives at Pasalic, holds him off, and his low shot goes in off the inside of the far post. 3-2. England never looked back. Rashford sealed it in the bench, but I think that third goal from Bellingham literally calmed everyone's nerves, and it's almost like England just suddenly thought they just had this belief back in, and he's a pivotal player. And I think there was some corners of the media that were wondering whether he would start this game. And what are your thoughts on Bellingham? Do you think he's a baller for today?
Well, he's a Rolls Royce in midfield. And arguably you would say he's probably the superstar in that England team, the most famous player. He plays for, the Real Madrid. I always thought Tuchel would go with Bellingham. Rodgers has been very, very good, but I felt he was starting Rodgers a wee bit more to try and get a look at Rodgers a lot more. I felt that he already knew what Bellingham was going to give him, to be honest, so he just wanted to see Rodgers. But overall decision, I do agree. Bellingham was absolutely fantastic, without a shadow of a doubt. I would always say the baller, though, of that match was Harry Kane. But for you, Shaq, you made some good points regarding Bellingham. And yeah, definitely, his goal was he really just steamrolled that defence, just kept running. They thought he was going to actually pass it, a cutback. So that actually gave him more space to actually just keep running. And then the angle of the shot was it was a sweet finish.
Yeah, very good finish. Really, really good finish. And I think he literally felt like he took the game by the scruff of the neck and got them the result that they needed. And I think that just galvanized the whole team. I mean, Kane was Kane, but the second goal that Kane got was like a gimme. Giving a player of Kane's quality, a free header like that is just a complete gimme. And the other one was a penalty kick. So, I mean, not taking anything away from Kane, he's exceptional. But I just felt like, for me, Jude Bellingham literally brought England back to life today. And for me, he's a baller. Right, we'll move on to the segment that I don't necessarily like, but we have to discuss it. It's the bottler. And today's bottler are Portugal. Portugal arrived at the tournament as one of the deepest squads in the competition. 4 PSG players, 3 from Man City, Sporting, Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, Cancelo, Neto. It's extraordinary collection of talent. And they drew 1-1. And we've discussed it in nauseum about all the issues that Portugal have. But for me today, Portugal were the bottlers. Especially, I think all they had to do was just come up with a win. A scrappy win would have been fine. Just drawing, I just felt like this could be another depressing tournament for Portugal. Your thoughts? We've discussed this, but anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'll just echo really your thoughts. Definitely a frustrating day all around for the Portuguese, and I just hope they can redeem themselves in the next match. But it's still early days, so we can't count our chickens yet. But just to echo what you said, yeah, I totally agree that was the bottlers of that day.
Yeah, completely agree. I think the only one stat that stood out to me was DR Congo finished the game with more shots on targets, and more expected goals than Portugal. That's a bit of a damning stat for them.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, like I said to you, when they did attack, the attack was so much precision, Shaq, and patience. I was quite surprised how well they actually attacked.
Yeah, they had some really quality players like Wisa from Newcastle, and also Bakambu for those FC Flares. Bakambu, like, he played a great game.
Villarreal, he plays for Villarreal,
Yeah,
I'm sure,
that's
or
right.
did play for Villarreal, yeah.
Yeah. I think he's in the Turkish league now, if I'm not mistaken, or Saudi.
Right,
But
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
great game. We'll move on to the drama. The drama for today was Ghana 1, Panama 0. Ghana versus Panama in Toronto, on paper, straightforward. Ghana are the higher ranked side, back at the first World Cup since 2014. Panama making their second ever World Cup appearance, but nothing about this game was straightforward. Ghana's 2 best players, Kudus and Salisu, were both absent through injury before even the game started. Then the starting goalkeeper, Lawrence, went off injured at halftime. Backup goalkeeper came on, having never started a meaningful game at this level. Panama sensed blood. They pressed, they created, they were better for 90 minutes. Panama deserved at least a point. Then the 90th minute came, then it became the 91st, the 92nd, the 93rd, and Panama's goalkeeper, Orlando Mosquera, pushed forward in the closing minutes, everyone up, and then Ghana broke. Brendan Thomas Asante made a brilliant run down the left, evaded 2 challenges, and squared it across the box. Urenki arrived to tap it into the empty net. Game over. Panama, who had pushed their goalkeeper into attack, who had been the better team for long stretches, who were seconds away from the first ever World Cup point, went home with nothing. Very disappointing for them.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. And the 3 points now in this tournament could be vital. You could actually qualify through third place, being one of the best third places. So 3 points is very, very valuable. Of course it's valuable, of course it is, listeners, but especially for this tournament.
Absolutely. Right, James, one of the key things that's happened right now is the first round of games are all done. All teams have played one round of games, and the next round starts tomorrow. And we thought, listener, what we will do is we'll quickly go through the top 8 ranks, the top 8 teams, the traditionally top 8 before the tournament began, before even a ball was kicked off. We'll break it down. We'll just give our honest rankings of where are out of 10 for Germany, Brazil, Argentina, Spain, France, England, Portugal, and Netherlands. Right. James, if you wouldn't mind, let's start with an easy one. Let's start with Germany. What would you rate Germany out of 10?
I would probably say 8. 8, I would say. 7-1, of course, is great, but they're playing against, a very low
Curacao.
nation that's
Yeah.
Curacao, that's a debut nation. So I'll go for 8.
Perfect. I'm with you there. Exactly. I'm with you. 8. Next up, we have Brazil. Not a great game against Morocco. They still have a lot in the tank, but also there's a lot of confusion with the midfield. What are your rating on 10?
I'll probably say 4.
Ooh, that's a rough one. Do you think, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Oh, I had 6.5 because I think there's a lot in the tank. I think starting with Iga Thiago and maybe starting with Cunha would be slightly different. So, but yeah, I think you say 4, I say 6.5. We'll see what happens from here. Moving on, Argentina.
For me, it has to be a 10, doesn't it? Messi hat-trick. So, of course, for the romantics. So go for a 10.
Nice one, nice one. I thought I was high at 8.5, but look, the only reason I gave it an 8.5 is because it's just so dependent on Messi showing up, and the rest of the team was good. But they all need Messi to show up, and it's good when it works. But my concern is, what if you have 4 people literally cornered around Messi? But then again, yeah, sorry, go on.
I do agree, because a player that they actually do miss, in my opinion, is Di Maria. I think he was a great ball carrier for them
That's
with his
right. They don't have.
dribbling. Yeah, so I do understand your point.
But we'll see. I think if they can keep up the same momentum, because Messi looks like a different class of player. Like I think one of the key things that I don't know if he was conscious or not is the fact that he's actually traveled across all of America, playing all the games with the MLS. He's acclimatized himself over the past couple of years. He knows whether the place has got high altitude, whether he has to do this, whether he has to prepare a different way. He's already ahead of the game. So maybe this is why people like me are completely surprised seeing him play so effortlessly at the World Cup at 38. But hey, let's see what happens from here. And next one I have, James, is Spain.
Spain with the 1 each against Cape Verde, I would probably have to say a 4.
4.
Especially with the moaning after the game. Just be a good, not loser. They didn't lose the game, but be a good sport. Just they 90 minutes, and John, our gaffer, made a fantastic point about the full 90 minutes they only made one foul. And a defensive display like that, it's fantastic. So fair play to them. So 4 for me for Spain.
That's fair, and I have 6 because I do believe there's a lot in the tank for them. It's just a display that they probably were caught off guard, and like the time they won the World Cup where they lost to Switzerland in the first game, it felt like one of those games where nothing was clicking. It's the same old problem. It's not having a striker, not having an outlet, and none of their players did as they normally would. So a different day could be a different outcome. But yeah, 4 is fair on the performance on that particular day. 4 is fair. Next up, we have France. What do you have for France?
Well, France, I can't be too harsh on France, can I? First half was a wee bit disappointing, don't get me wrong. I was very impressed how Senegal actually counter-attacked them. I thought that was excellent. The manager got his tactics spot on, but then the France quality just was fantastic second half. So probably a 9.
Yeah, I'm with you on there. Complete 9. First half shambles. I thought this is going to be another lackluster performance World Cup for them. But the second half, I think Olise is the one who's probably, correct me if I'm wrong, the best player on the planet right now in form. The way he plays for Bayern, what he does, the effortless passing that he does, he's just exceptional. So I think France at 9. Moving along, England. What do you have for England, James?
I'd probably say 8. Shaq, to be honest, they done what there was expected from them, but the second half was really, really good. Basically, a Premier League team, and they've been dying for that in England, for that, just replicate what the best league in the world does. So I felt they done that second half. I thought they played well. So 8, but just because they conceded, it's not a full 10. So 8.
Yeah, I'll give it a 7.5 just because of the way of the defense. Otherwise, attack, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I'll quickly go through the last 2, which is Portugal. We've discussed it in nauseum. I'm going to give Portugal a 4 because I don't think if they're at this level, they shouldn't be at the tournament. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, totally agree.
And lastly, our gaffer John's not going to be happy with this. With Netherlands, I've given it a 4 because I wasn't happy with their performance at all. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, listeners and watchers, if you don't see me and Shaq again, that's the reason that we rated the Netherlands so low. But joking aside, yeah, I would agree 4. It was disappointing. John, I'm sure, would agree with us. It was disappointing. Japan, many people have it as the dark horse, but even so, expected the Netherlands to steamroll, and I expected a better performance from Gakpo as well. So I'll go for 4.
Yeah, same. Let's hope let's hope our ratings are true for the good ones, and the other ones pull themselves up in the second round, and we'll see how that goes. Right, listener, day 7 is done. The tournament favorites are wobbling a little bit. We have some new emerging talent. We have some amazing the stalwarts, Mbappé's, the Haalands. They're all kicking into gear. Let's hope Cristiano can do the same. Messi's having a fabulous tournament. Let's see where this goes from here. Just follow us on Instagram at Foot in Review, on TikTok at Foot in Review Podcast. A 5-star review on a podcasting app will go a long way with us. So share this episode with someone who wants to hear the Ronaldo debate, who wants to discuss something for the World Cup. Just share this along with them. And if you want to support without a subscription, just buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/footinreview. Every coffee keeps us going. Link in the show notes. Right, listener, we'll be back tomorrow to break down the other games that we have on hand. The second round. I can't believe a week is done, James. Looking forward to that. Anyway, listener, talk to you tomorrow.